Scribble notes when I wrote these quotes. If I offend, pardon me, there's more of me to grow.
Everyone, I am back again for another video. This time I really wanted to talk to you all about something near and dear to my heart: titling your book. How do you go about titling your book? What's a good title? How do I do this? I don't know. You have a book, right? You have this whole story and you need to name it something that resonates. Let's talk about it. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit this like button and leave a comment too. Like, I'd love to know what your book is titled. So drop the title of your book or your story in the comments below. That'd be dope. So to start off, I think one of the most important things that you can do when you're thinking about titling your book is remembering who your audience is, and what are the themes that are embodied in your book. If you are writing to a fantasy audience, then you really should align your book with titles that really resonate with fantasy. If you're a paranormal author, you need to think about what you call your book that's paranormal and how that will resonate with your audience. As I think about my own books, I have actually a couple copies here. One, War in the Fallows, right? War in the Fallows gives you this indication that there is war and that there is something going on, the Fallows being a place. That alone is a huge piece of like creating some type of image for a listener or a reader that gives them some type of idea what the story is going to be about. Beyond just the cover, the title of the book can really give you this extra oomph that you need to kind of break through the noise. So the next piece of advice is really to beware of popular rhythms and ways that titles like kind of exist. We all have heard like blank of blank and blank. Like you can just say that, insert whatever nouns and adjectives, and you get the story. So beware of that, because sometimes those rhythms, um, a blank of blank, like that stuff can really get old. Uh, those patterns are something that are easily recognizable for listeners and audiences and readers, but those patterns also can really get people turned off to your story. So you have to be very strategic in how you kind of name your book. You have to be strategic in how you name your story, because you want people to pick it up and see it as unique. You don't want them to see it as a ripoff or as just another copy. And that's what a lot of story titles can kind of be. When I was naming my second book, I'll pull it out right now. It's When the Crown Gambles. There's not a ton of titles like it, but it gives you this kind of indication, right? Like, when the crown gambles, what does that mean? It makes you feel like there's this aspect of gambling going on, this aspects of crowns, which makes you feel like there's kingdoms, and it kind of leads you to start to think maybe that's a book I want to pick up and read. Maybe that's a title that kind of sticks out. So think about that when you're writing, because that's a big piece of naming your book. Is how can you be unique in the space and not just another blank of blank and blank. On the other side of that, don't be too unique. I've seen a lot of authors have really, really abstract titles, and there comes like sometimes it really works, right? Sometimes it really, really, really works. The Invisible Life of Addie, like that's those titles hit sometimes, but oftentimes they don't. So you don't want to be too unique that people don't know what genre your book is, or they can't necessarily even remember what the book is called because of how unique the title is. So understand that piece too. You want something that people can remember. You want something that's not super duper long, because super duper long titles are often really hard to kind of advertise in any meaningful way, because of how many characters they take. So make sure that you're aware of that and you're thinking of that as well. Make it so it's something unique to your world, something that's unique to your story, something that really catches what your tale is about. But don't make it so unique and so obscure that if you have to explain what the title means to every person that picks it up. It shouldn't be something that's like, oh, this is like a really, really big piece of what the story would be. I think when I think of a unique title that really works, it's Elantris. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. just a place. It's a place in the book, and it's a fantasy book. It has the fantasy elements to the name, but because it's just Elantris, if you don't know what that is, it gives you that mystery of the story. It gives you just this one word title. It's really not a super long title, and he could have named it The Empire of, the Fallen Empire of Elantris, but he chose Elantris as just the title, which I think was really interesting decision. Another thing you can do, and I think this is like something most people probably already do, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. Go on Amazon, type the title that you're thinking about into the search bar. See if anyone else has your title. There's a ton of books out there. Your title might be taken. It's not a bad thing. Like, don't get me wrong. It's definitely not a bad thing if your title's taken. But if you try to name your book something that someone else who's much more popular has named their book, you're gonna have a really hard time breaking through the space and kind of getting seen at all or being searched for. So you want to look at how much traffic is going towards the name that you're placing on your book, because it's going to influence a ton as far as visibility and your ability to advertise and Google AdSense and all of these other metrics that you might not be thinking about when you first name it. So you want to check, make sure your title isn't just every other book, a king named blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't want like King James. You name your book King James, it's going to be so hard to find your book when you search King James into Amazon. And yes, your name matters, right? Like, you're the author, but there is a high likelihood that people will not even type your freaking name in. They'll just type the book in, and if they can't find it, if they can't find it easily, then you're really making it difficult for them to kind of just pick your book up. This last piece of advice is just decide, just choose. You can spend all day and night, tossing and turning, thinking about what book title is best. I had, I think, 14 or 15 different titles for my second book, and I just couldn't choose one. Just choose. Choose something that's marketable. Choose something that's appealing. Ask for other opinions, because it's hard, but the book title is not just yours. If you think about it as an author, the title of your story is not just you. It's not really just what you like. It is what appeals to readers. Ask other people, be like, hey, these are all these different titles of the book that I'm thinking. I sent a list of 5 or 6, and I asked people to rank them and tell me which ones they really liked. And then from there, I chose the book title, because I chose it based off of what other people told me was like an appealing title to them. Because all of the titles that I came up with sort of appealed to me because I knew what the book was about. I already read it. I wrote it. So think about that when you're making your titles. Just choose. Ask people's opinions and see what they think, and then choose the one that everyone likes. Choose the one that seems to get the most positive reception, and go from there. Because ultimately, your title of the book is something that you're hoping that your readers will then say to other people. You're hoping that your readers will then recommend your story. So try to find a title that your readers can say easily, that they can recommend, that they enjoy talking about, they enjoy saying. All of that really matters. I actually have a friend, he has a book, it's called Allegory of the End. And it was like really awesome. It's an awesome book to say, it's an awesome book to read on a piece of paper. And I think that it's a really cool title for what his story is about, his sci-fi story. Make sure that you have titles that are really fun. You have titles that are interesting. You have titles that are unique, but also that reach a nice crowd. And don't feel like you have to spend all day choosing. Just choose something and then move on. And you'll have another book. You'll have more titles. You'll go through this process again, get feedback. It'll work out. And that's it. Thank you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I would definitely want to see what your book titles are. Workshop some book titles in the comments. That seems dope. Like, ask people what their opinions are. They're random strangers. Ask them. That seems cool. All right. Bye.